What is up, guys? It is Tony here, and today we're doing a video about the new iPhone, the iPhone 6, which many of you guys probably don't care about or are very excited about. There's very mixed opinions on these phones, and the iPhone 6 to me is a phone that I am planning on getting. I am very excited for in certain aspects, but I'm not overly ecstatic like I used to be about iPhones. I feel they are missing out on a few things they could have done with this new phone. But I do feel that a lot of the hatred that's being thrown toward the iPhone is a bit out of hand, and I decided to throw some hatred back with this very titles down here, very condescending title, saying the Apple iPhone is better than Android. Now, is that true? It depends on which phone you choose. If you're comparing it to the Nexus 5, or if you're comparing it to the Galaxy S5, it's a very close battle. But if you're comparing it to, say, the Note 3, which is kind of an older version of the Android ecosystem, it's a pretty easy win for Apple. But a lot of people seem to be comparing the iPhone 6 Plus, actually no, only the iPhone 6 they're comparing, to the Nexus 4. So anyway, I want to go through and explain throughout a series of videos, which are right over here. You can click them at any point in the video, they'll just be sitting here. These are going to be a series of 3 videos about the processor and the specifications of the iPhone, about the camera, and also about the resolution of the screen on the phone. And I'm going to be talking about some of the mistakes people are making when comparing the Android ecosystem, especially the older Android ecosystem, to this new iPhone. There's a very big difference here. There's a lot of misinformation being put out there, and I want to really quickly just run down some of these things. And also at the same time, I am not by any means an Apple fan. I used to be a huge fan of Apple. Nowadays, I use Windows a lot for gaming, for making videos, for editing videos. I use Android on occasions. I have a Note 3, and I used to have a Google Glass, which I used to use for Android. And in general, I find myself using Windows and Android products more than I use the iPhone nowadays. And I have, for the longest time, been very disappointed in the upgrades with these iPhones. They've been behind for a while, and they finally are catching up, which is a good thing, and a lot of people have been making it look like it's a bad thing. So, the first thing I want to address is something I want to address in this video. All of the specs and the numbers, they're going to be in those other videos, so click on them at any point, or at the end of this video, go check it out. But today I want to talk about the main thing that's being thrown around a lot, and this is that the iPhone is copying Android. Now, in some ways, that's 110% true. There's no way you can argue that the iPhone is not copying Android. They're following up Android's design with larger screens, even though Apple in the past has said that they wouldn't use a larger screen, but they're trying to make it work with more reachability, and you can see how they have that double tap on the home button so you can reach the top. It's kind of cheesy, but the point of it is to not contradict themselves so much, because there are people who have smaller hands and don't want a large phone. It's true. There are people who would prefer having a smaller phone. The other thing that people have been saying they're copying with is the interfaces, the way they're adding in the drag-down notifications. And to be honest, the software of the iPhone, in my opinion, is very underwhelming lately. There haven't been many good upgrades that have really made the iPhone stick out in front of the Android phone. But the one thing I want to point out is that back, I think it was about a year ago, maybe even 2 years ago now, Apple was suing Samsung. Samsung was being sued for copying Apple's designs, for copying Apple's concepts, and they were also suing other companies as well for copying their concept of a phone. Many Samsung and many Android fans were defending Android by saying that it's not copying. There's really, it's sort of the concept that if you're designing a new chair, say you want to design a chair for your company, if you use 4 legs on your chair, there are hundreds of chairs before your design that used 4 legs, but that doesn't mean you're copying their design, you're using what works. And all Samsung was doing is they were using what works. This is how the industry advances. We've seen this in computers in the past, with the graphical user interface pretty much being copied and pasted across different operating systems and different hardware systems, and it's just the way the whole technology ecosystem advances forward, how it evolves. So Apple was in the wrong, really, to sue Samsung there. Yeah, they had patents. Yeah, they had lots of specific things they were kind of emulating on their side, but Apple has been guilty of doing the same in the past. We all know this, and so has Android, and so has Microsoft, and many other companies in the technology ecosystem. At the same time, it makes me feel like Apple's a hypocrite, but it also makes me feel like Android users are hypocrites, because now Apple's copying Android, and everyone's acting like Apple's in the wrong for doing that. Meanwhile, they defended Android phones for copying Apple. It's hypocritical on both sides. It's kind of ridiculous. Now, the other thing that kind of bothers me about this whole debate is a lot of people are trying to make the iPhone look like it's a null option. A lot of people are making the iPhone look like it's not a competitor. Now, that's kind of ridiculous. The iPhone is still a competitor. It's priced to compete. It's extremely popular. It still holds a good part of the marketplace. And it also, in general, has pretty comparable features to Android. Is it missing a few features? Yeah. Is it missing an IR blaster? Is it missing lots of software features? Yeah, of course it is. It is behind the curve on a lot of features. But at the same time, you can't say it's not a competitor. And the minute you rule out the iPhone as a competitor, who's competing with Android? What people don't realize is that competition is very, very important, especially in phones, to keep those phones advancing. The reason why Apple decided to add larger screens and benefit users of iPhone products is because of the competition. The competition drove them to put in a larger screen. Without competition, that would have never happened, which is why even when I was a huge Apple fan, I had nothing against Microsoft or Android or any competitor of Apple, because all it's going to do is keep driving Apple to do bigger and better things. And this is an important aspect to technology industry. So, if you guys like where I'm going with this, if you don't like where I'm going with this, I would recommend you check out one of these 3 videos about the camera, about the processor and specs, and also about the resolution and screen size, basically addressing, just like I did in this video, some misinformations being thrown around, addressing some ways the Apple iPhone is more advanced, and in some ways the iPhone isn't that advanced. It's very cool information. It's just stuff that I've done and figured out through research. I've been doing a lot of research about this topic because it's very intriguing to me. I find this intriguing, this debate and this concept that the iPhone is essentially a 2012 phone. And I find it very intriguing that this is being brought up, and I've done a lot of research, and I have a lot of cool things to talk about. And if you want to check them out, check them out. If you don't, that's fine. Go ahead and click on another video. But thank you for watching. Thank you for checking out this video, and I'll see you guys in the other videos or in my next videos coming up later this week.